Chapter 10 project is where this will all come together. I'm going to ask you to use a multimedia presentation to inform parents about the process and product of special education. You explaining this. So here's kind of what I want you to cover, like the early learning for students, but legislation, like the different disabilities, and then into the heart of it, rights to parents. And you did a thing, we just looked at this again in the chapter lecture. Here's the one that isn't touched very hard in this that I want you to dig a little deeper in, is the assessment process of determining who has a special disability and how that comes to be. And then the IEP process, and then what services they may get, like related services. Again, that's a little beyond the scope of what this chapter was. And maybe this is just a link to the South Dakota Parents' Rights here. And let me just take you back here, what we just covered in this chapter. Here, that first part was the early historical. Here's some legislation. Here's that IEP thing, like developing the IEP, rights and responsibilities, notification, mediation. You can cover those things. And here's specific disabilities. And again, you don't have to go over each one. Just make them aware you have that there for them to see. And then from there, however you want to handle it. Now, let me show you. Here's an example. This is John, was in this class a couple years ago, and here's his. He starts out with a little music and some stuff like this, and he talks to you, and he takes you to different websites, things like this, or even to, he had a PowerPoint slide that he worked from. And that's what I'm telling you about multimedia, is that you have multiple things. Images, you can use videos. Maybe you worked the whole thing from a PowerPoint and you linked everything into that to make it. But I want to hear your voice explaining this process and project to a parent about special ed. You see, John went 18, almost 19 minutes. That's a little too long. But the whole project, if you're going to do a PowerPoint slide or whatever, make sure that's in Google or something that goes into your web project well, and then you can process it. He originally had this in the Google Drive. I uploaded it into YouTube, his project. But nonetheless, it's multimedia here that you explain this. And I'm just trying to give you here how I'd like to see you cover it, but it really makes it cool. You drop a little music in there. You go around different places. I can't wait to see it. And again, you don't have to do anything but insert it or link it. I'd like to see it inserted into your page. But if you can't get that to happen, if on your particular one, a link under chapter 10 or whatever, so that I can see you communicating with parents about special ed.